It's 9:06 a.m. Please be seated. Please find your seats. It's 9:06 a.m. I call to order the 2018 fourth quarterly meeting of the State Republican Executive Committee. Good morning. I hope everyone slept well. Good morning. I would say it was a short night, but actually we made it before midnight, so it was better than I had feared. As we get ready to have the invocation this morning, I do want to remind folks we've got a couple of folks out for health issues, particularly Tony Ann and her mother. So please remember them. And of course, we are all noting with sadness the loss of former President George H.W. Bush. Happy for him that he is reunited with Barbara, and celebrating and remembering a lifetime of service that just in a couple of things started with him being the youngest naval aviator in the entire U.S. Navy, and included him serving as chairman of the Harris County Republican Party and the Republican National Committee. And don't forget, that was at a time when you could put the Republicans in Texas in a pretty small room. So please remember that. If I could have Corey Taylor, please come.
Let us pray. God, as we enter into this season of Advent, we are reminded of just how amazing it is that you would send your son Jesus all the way from heaven to earth. That he would move into our neighborhood to connect with us and identify with us and ultimately die for us and be raised from the dead so that we can have eternal life. We're thankful for that today, and may during this season we remember the choice he made, the choice that you made to send him here. We do lift up all those in this room who have family members who are ill, who are struggling with circumstances that are beyond their control. Would you meet them there, Father, and minister to them? We lift up the Bush family, Father, and pray that you would comfort them. As I stated in chapel this morning, losing two parents in 1 year is not easy, no matter what their age. And so, Lord, we thank you for their servants and family, the ways that they have really given a lot of their lives and the cost that came with that. And we ask that you would comfort them as they go through this season. We pray for this meeting today, Father, that you would continue to give wisdom and direction to the leadership of this executive committee, Father, and we ask that your perfect will be done today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
And now, if Hannah Scott from SC20 will lead us in the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise for the pledging. Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Robert Casillas from SC19 for the Texas Pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Including myself and Vice Chair Alma Jackson, there are 64 members. Proxy Committee, please go ahead and begin your work while our Secretary Will Robbins calls the roll.
Chairman James Dickey. Vice Chair Alma Jackson. Here. National Committeeman Robin Armstrong. National Committeewoman Tony Ann DeShiel. Secretary Will Robbins is here. Parliamentarian Chris Howe is here. Sergeant at Arms Nelda Epps. Treasurer Larry Hicks. General Counsel Chris Gover. Assistant General Counsel Trey Traynor. Here. Assistant General Counsel Ross Fisher. Assistant General Counsel Wade Emmert. Assistant General Counsel Art Martinez de Vara. Chaplain Corey Tabor. SD1 Robert Kessick. Sue Evenwell. SD2 Jason Ross. Jerry Fisher. SD3 Terry Holcomb. Judy Pareda. SD4 Allison Winter. Walter West.
Present.
SD5 Nina Davidson. Mike McCloskey. SD6 Chris McDonald. SD6 Don McDonald. SD7 Mark Ramsey. Terry Leo. SD8 Susan Fisher. Chuck Branch. SD9 Steve Atwell. Ann Gebhardt. SD10 Warren Norred. Susan Wright. SD11 JT Edwards. Tanya Robertson. SD12 David Halverson. Debbie Terry.
Here by proxy.
And what's your name?
Jill Glover.
Thank you. SD13 Don Elliott.
Here.
Roy Morales.
Present.
SD14 Jan Duncan. Fernando Trevino. SD15 Virgil Cruz.
Present.
Gail Stanner. She's here. SD16 Randall Dunning.
Present.
Susan Fountain. SD17 Marvin Clee.
Here.
Kathleen Wall.
Here.
SD18 Rick Figueroa.
Here by proxy.
And your name?
Kenneth Belcher.
Okay. Edie Sinclair.
Here by proxy.
And your name?
Vanessa Hicks Calloway.
Thank you. SD19 Marion Knowlton.
Here.
Robert Cassius.
Here.
Did I get it right?
No. Cassius.
I told you by the end of this term. SD20 Sam Dalton. Hannah Scott.
Here.
SD21 Terry Harper.
Here.
Carla Sisk.
Present.
SD22 Ashley Sellers.
Here by proxy.
And your name?
Paul Perry.
Thank you. SD22 Trip Bryant.
He'll be joining us later.
SD23 Stephen Roden.
Present.
Leslie Thomas. SD24 Jack Barcroft.
Here.
Summer Wise. SD25 Mark Razio.
Here.
Linda Kinney. SD26 Michael Rain.
Present.
Marion Stanko. SD27 Morgan Graham. James Zavaleta.
Here.
SD28 Drew Bowler. Neva Hayman. SD29 Mark Dunham. SD29 Barbara Carrasco.
Here by proxy.
Thank you, Mark. SD30 Britton Brooks.
Here.
Dion Starnes. SD31 Rhonda Lacey. Tom Roller.
Get the roster updated. Immediately after that. That'd be great.
Okay, there are 58 members in attendance at this time. A quorum is present. If any of you need to leave the meeting early this afternoon, Secretary Will Robbins has proxy forms available for you to complete. Please notify Gail Sanner of the proxy committee as well as Will Robbins, the secretary, so he can take a note in the minutes. Also, if you have a neighbor who joins us later, please have them let Will know as well. Okay, we'll now continue with our standing committee reports. The next report up is the Candidate Resource Committee. Chairman Atwell or Vice Chair Eads. Without objection, we'll defer that report. Party Organization Committee, Chairman Knowlton.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, I respectfully submit the report of the Party Organization Committee as follows. The committee met Friday, November 30th, 2018 at 10:45 a.m. The committee has approved and makes the following recommendation to you, the body of the SREC, for your recommendation to the chairman. Quote, "We believe that the RPT handbook, as written, covers the employee-employer relationship except for the matter of clarifying participation as a delegate at a political convention, be it precinct, county, senatorial, or state level. We therefore recommend that the RPT handbook be amended to include a clause prepared by legal counsel that RPT employees may choose to participate in Republican political conventions as delegates or advocates, provided they utilize personal vacation time to do so. Vacation time will be allowed following availability outlined on pages 17 and 18 of the RPT Employee Handbook. Working the convention as an RPT employee, they are subject to the RPT employment agreement and are not allowed to participate as a delegate," end quote. The committee moves this recommendation. The committee also recommends the chairman establish. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you've heard the motion from the committee. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed to the motion say nay. The ayes have it.
The committee also recommends the chairman establish an election code review working group, the purpose of which is to review the election code and make recommendations for eliminating state laws that interfere with party organization. Bill Fairbrother, county chairman for Williamson County and former legislative liaison for the TRCCA, which is the Texas Republican County Chairman's Association, will chair the working group. Others who have agreed to serve are J.T. Edwards, Brandon Moore, and Trey Traynor. The committee moves this recommendation.
Okay, you have a recommendation for the creation of a working group. Seeing no discussion, all in favor of the creation of the working group, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it.
I want to thank the members of the Party Organization Committee. So if you all would please stand. They've all worked very hard on these issues and the working groups, and I thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to serve in this capacity. Thank you.
Next committee is Auxiliaries and Coalitions. Chairman Edwards. Okay. Without objection, we will come back to Auxiliaries and Coalitions at a later time. Resolutions. Chairman Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, members. The Resolutions Committee met yesterday from 1:52 to 3:37 p.m. If I could get the members of the committee to please stand. And we can considered several resolutions, and we have 4 in the digital packet. The first one is the result of the work of a subcommittee and their input, and it regarded Plank 332, which was part of the committee's charge by the chair. And the resolution is on the screen. It is a resolution in support of candidates who support the right to life planks. Mr. Chair, by direction of the committee, I move adoption.
You have the recommendation of the committee to move adoption of this resolution on how we will manage compliance with Plank 332. Any? Yeah. Would you mind reading the resolution? Just the result.
Okay, I'll read the resolve. Therefore, be it resolved that financial resources of the Republican Party of Texas be prioritized consistent with our commitment to advocate for laws that protect innocent preborn children, and that only those candidates who publicly affirm their commitment to advancing a culture of life in Texas by supporting legislation to protect women and their preborn children shall be eligible for financial support.
Hey Brandon, where's the Saturday live now?
It's in the digital packet. It's at the bottom. So the video, quick refresh.
Yeah. Without objection, I would like to recommit this resolution back to the committee based on some input on some ambiguity in the therefore. Without objection, we are recommitting this back to committee for review for the next meeting.
The committee also considered a resolution in support of non-discrimination, and I'll read the resolve. Therefore, be it resolved that the State Republican Executive Committee encourages all Republican County Executive Committees to follow the rules of the Republican Party of Texas related to participations in meetings and conventions, and be it further resolved that the Republican Party of Texas calls for all Republican organizations to advocate and adhere to our platform planks protecting and preserving religious liberty for all Americans, a fundamental principle which has been a bedrock of our society and government since its inception, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to all Republican county chairs in Texas.
Okay, you have the resolution. Any discussion on the resolution?
Can we see the full resolution again, please? Thank you.
And again, all of these are available in the Google Drive that you have for this quarter's packet, for the electronic packet. And for simplicity and clarity's sake, Brandon moved all of yesterday's issues and items into a subfolder so that keep it clean for you. Okay, I recognize Mr. Marcroft, SD 44.
Mr. Chairman, we know that Jesus is alive, and it specifically comes out of Tarrant County. Now I do understand.
Sorry, folks.
I see what we did here. We made it statewide as opposed to county specific. But my question to the body is, will they still get the message in Tarrant County, even though it doesn't say Tarrant County?
Yes.
Duly done. Yes. Okay. Any other discussion on the resolution? Okay, and for clarity, that was a valid point. If you wanted to take it further than that, you would make a motion to amend to address your concern. Or not.
Mr. Chairman, Rick Brooks, SD 30. This committee, we debated this ad nauseum. We had two very distinct issues there. One, are we going to dress down Tarrant County before they made kind of illegal or improper action? Tarrant County, as a group, came to us and asked us not to interfere with their local politics. I agree, it was going to be improper to do that. However, we do need to make a statement against racism. I believe that's good also. This is a good compromise that we made right here after about, I'd say a solid 45 minutes. It was 5 of our colleagues, sir, that signed a letter asking us, 6 of our colleagues that sent a letter to the group asking us respectfully to let them deal with the issue in-house before taking a state stand on it.
And is there, and I thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to ask a few questions of my colleague. Is that letter available to the body?
It is. It is.
Okay.
Y'all got that letter anywhere, anybody from the committee? Yeah.
Oh, good.
This is, dear colleagues, Tarrant County is experiencing some intense discussion and debate within our GOP membership and appreciate the concerns of our colleagues throughout the state. Our own county GOP leaderships engage in conversations with all concerned parties continually and ask that you afford us the opportunity to work through our issues within our county. We ask you to respect the will of the voters of Tarrant County who elected each of these executive committee members and allow us to all work within the framework of the RPT towards our own resolutions. Our county chairman has consulted our state chairman for guidance and is proceeding accordingly. Please table any and all resolutions dealing with Tarrant County at this time. To date, there have been no infractions of local, state, federal, or party rules. Taking action on the possibility of a violation sets a very dangerous precedent. We are grateful for your support and commitment on this issue with You for Texas, and that was signed by 6 of the members of this body.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ogle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure that the body understands that this is not about a particular executive committee. This is about particular individuals that are elected Republicans that should probably resign and shouldn't represent.
Parties, I haven't heard any of this stuff going on. We have one. And I think we need to tell the folks in that one county, this is wrong, this is what needs to be done, and we need to stop it. And I fully supported our efforts to strongly state, we got involved in the county party this year for something far less than that. We need to get involved in the county party and tell them to stop it today. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Susan Wright, Senate District 10. If I might, to answer a couple of questions, if I could.
Please.
I am one of the 6 that signed on to the Dear Colleague letter. I will make sure that the Secretary has that. It's both of the Senate 9, Senate 10, and Senate 12 SREC committee members. We represent all of Tarrant County except for 3 precincts. We are keenly aware of what is going on, what needs to be done, and we are working through this process. Our chairman is working with, our local chairman is working with the state chairman. through the various parliamentary issues. We are certainly blisteringly
Point of
aware.
order.
Yes, sir.
Chris McDonald, SEC. Mr. Chairman, could you ask each speaker to clarify if they're speaking for or against the particular resolution on the floor?
Sure.
My mistake, thank you. The resolution on the floor is to pass the resolution that came out of Resolutions Committee.
Correct.
Yes, I'm speaking in favor of that motion.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. We are blisteringly aware of the media and the impact of it. But I want to remind this body, and I urge you with all haste, to remember that at the essence of this action, we are asked to make a decision and pass a resolution against a body or to a body, a county body, who has not broken any rules. We do have some people who have raised this issue and are pushing their ideas. Our party has rules to allow that. It is messy, and we are not pleased with the sausage making. I'll just say that. But our executive committee has the right to work through with the rules that we have in place. We are in compliance with RPT rules. We are working what we're supposed to be working. We ask, we plead with you to please allow us that courtesy and give us the respect. And remember that each and every one of us in that executive committee, there's well over 200 of us, have been elected by people in our precincts. Our county chairman has been elected, and our county continues to support all of us to do the right thing. I'm confident we will. I ask your indulgence and I beg your support for this to let us do what we've been elected to do. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Brandon Dunning, SB 16. There's been a couple of things that I'd like to just highlight. Well, I am for the resolution, and I'd like to speak to its passage. There's been some criticism that it's not specific enough. But that's really not in our legal tradition. I mean, even in our Constitution, we don't allow bills of attainder. We don't aim legislation at individuals or particular groups. What we do is we try to make broad policies which in the framework of our society allows us to function. And as a party, we've done the same thing. And so in that respect, this resolution is entirely appropriate as that kind of framework. Now, if people wish to use that framework to admonish someone else, that's fine. That's how you use a platform. That's how you use rules. I mean, if you have to take the platform or rules and roll them up and put a rubber band on them and tap someone like the naughty dog, that's what you do. Now, the thing I'd like to also point out is in our party, we believe in religious liberty. Now, we don't believe in absolute religious liberty. I mean, we're not going to resurrect some pagan function where we're sacrificing virgins so we have better crop harvests. So, you know, we recognize the limits based upon the ideas of human liberty. In the Declaration, it talks about the laws of nature, and the laws of nature's God being our foundational field for liberty. And as such, everyone is welcome to enter the golden door. The only thing we ask is that tyranny and despotism be left at the door and come in and enjoy the liberty and the freedom that the United States and the Republican Party advocates and affords to all its people. Thank you.
Chairman, David Halverson, SD 12. Just inquiry to the resolutions, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, by what level did this resolution pass in committee?
Thank you, Mr. Halverson. The committee had me indicate that the vote was, quote, overwhelming, unquote.
Okay, seeing no further discussion. Oh, okay. Name and SC.
Summer Wise, SD 24. I'm making a motion to amend.
Okay.
And I'm doing this on the fly, so please bear with me here. I just spoke with Dr. Shafi and asked him what he would like to do. Because that's why we're all here, right? And so Dr. Shafi wants our party to be united and wants our party to work together and to be welcoming and to grow and to prosper. So he's not interested in changing this language, with the exception of making sure that we acknowledge that not only at conventions and meetings do we not discriminate, but also at appointments. So can we include the word appointments in this? Or any activities involving the Republican Party?
Okay, so please state that as a motion.
Okay. Okay, I move that we amend participations in meetings and conventions and leadership positions or party official positions.
Changing the wording of a resolution does not inherently change a rule. However, it should be noted that this part of this text of this resolution was intended to be a quote from our rules. It might be more appropriate to address what you're said somewhere else in the resolution.
Can we put in addition to organizational roles?
Would the committee member like to take a moment to discuss? Yeah, we won't close debate on this until you address the letter. Without objection? Without objection, can we table and move on to the next resolution? Okay, seeing no objection, we're going to table and move on to the next resolution.
Mr. Chair, the Resolutions Committee recommends the resolution on funding to combat election fraud in Texas. I'll read the resolve clause. Therefore, be it resolved that the State Republican Executive Committee calls upon the Texas Legislature to enact legislation to ensure election integrity by funding increased election integrity staff for the election law enforcement function at the Office of the Texas Attorney General in order to prevent election fraud and ensure the integrity of elections in Texas. And I understand there may be amendments to this.
Okay, you have the motion. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, this is Terry Leo from SD7. I do want to offer a couple of amendments. I'm the Secretary of Resolutions, and I probably would have done it yesterday, but it's a little bit difficult to take notes and fix amendments. I think this is wording that makes more sense. It doesn't change the substantive, what we want to as a rule to happen off this resolution. So the first one is on strike the fifth whereas. It's redundant with the sixth whereas.
So you're recommending to strike the sixth?
Strike that, yes.
Okay. And
Should we address them separately, or is this a single set?
I can do both of them at the same time, but I thought.
let's do that.
Okay. And then the other one, Brandon, do you have the language, the substitute language put up?
Brandon?
This one? Yes. Okay.
Okay, there it is. Okay, so on there's only one therefore,
So therefore, be it resolved that the State Republican Executive Committee, and then we're striking that very last part basically and moving it in the proper order. So therefore, be it resolved that the State Republican Executive Committee, in order to prevent election fraud and ensure election integrity, comma, so that part's added and stricken below, calls upon the Texas Legislature to increase funding for election law enforcement, and then add to enact legislation,
Yeah,
Yes,
that third
the
one
last
should be
part
stricken.
and then to enact legislation 2 should be stricken. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. Okay, is that now correctly, with the first part in red being a move of the text, right?
Correct. Well,
An insert into a new part.
yeah, a new part, and then we just left off Texas.
Right, okay.
Therefore, be it resolved that the State Republican Executive Committee add, in order to prevent election fraud and ensure election integrity, comma, calls upon the Texas Legislature to increase funding for election and law enforcement, strike at the office of the Texas Attorney General, and then strike the end.
Okay, so you have in front of you the wording at the proposed amendment. Is there a second to the amendment of the two sections? Okay, we have a second. Any discussion?
I have a question for the chairman, please.
Certainly.
Michael Rain, Senate District 26. I understand we're going to strike that language to enact legislation. I'm curious why we don't want to suggest enacting stricter legislation dealing with integrity, election integrity. As it was first proposed, it suggests increasing funding and enacting legislation, as I recall. Now we're going to strike a bit about legislation, and instead the resolution deals solely with funding, and that's the question I've got.
So, two responses based on my reading of it. First of all, it's a direction to the legislature, and of course the yes, sir. Yes,
Go
ma'am.
back, because they have something stricken that should not be stricken. At the office of the Attorney General should not be stricken. You have a line for that?
Okay, my bad.
There you go. Thanks.
Correct. Okay, so two responses. One, this is a resolution to the legislature, and everything they do is passing legislation. So by default, asking the legislature to do anything means passing legislation. Second, at least based on the whereas I saw, it was to enact legislation to fund. And we're saying, please fund.
Says to enact legislation to ensure an election integrity.
Right. And the next half of that says, calls upon them to enact legislation to do that by funding.
My apologies, it's difficult to follow when we're flipping back and forth and we don't have a physical copy in front of us.
Understand.
Oh, sorry. Should I just leave it right here and then do this right here?
No. Yeah, leave it right there for now. Any other discussion on the motion as amended? The resolution as amended? Okay, seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Right, this is the amendment to the resolution as moved. So this is on the amendments. All in favor of the amendments, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, now we have the resolution as amended. All in favor of the resolution as amended, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it.
Okay, resolved. Therefore, be it resolved that the State Republican Executive Committee calls upon the legislature to hold hearings and redraw House District 90 within the 45-day window prescribed by the 3-judge panel. By the direction of committee, I move adoption.
You have the motion from the committee. Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll take the vote. Everybody have your clickers?
Where's the, I mean, just unplugging it for.
Should be able to go ahead and plug it in now.
I'll go ahead and open it.
Mr. Chairman, Ribbon Rose, SD 30. I see several people here who are wanting an explanation as to the origin.
So that would be a point of information?
Yes, sir, thank you.
And a point of information is an interrupting motion, so that would be,
I deleted the timer.
yeah, actually, that would have been timely prior to the call of the vote.
Well, I don't know what to do differently.
When we take the vote, it is one or a for yes.
Open. Open.
Voting is now open. Please aim your clickers at Ashley, and you can see the votes coming up on the board.
Should be.
If your vote's not already showing, please go ahead and get that in as quickly as possible.
There we go. So I have to retake it.
Yeah, that's what we want to screenshot each vote. Thank you. Okay, Chairman Cruz.
I want to put it on the Word doc.
Yeah, while we're waiting for the potential resumption of the tabled resolution, this seems an appropriate time to bring up the resolution on the passing of President George H.W. Bush that you all were, that is in your folder. If you would, Chairman Cruz, can you speak to that? So, to be clear, our bylaws allow, it is always wise to bring resolution through the committee, but our bylaws allow for direct submission of a resolution. This is a case where that allow us to be timely in the consideration of this resolution proposed by Mr. Cruz in his role as member of the body. So without objection, we'll take that up now.
Mr. Chair, after the passing of President Bush last night, we talked, a few of us, and thought it would be appropriate to suggest a resolution. So I move adoption of the resolution in honor of George Herbert Walker Bush, 41st President of the United States.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on this resolution. Any discussion on the resolution? Would you like to speak in favor of the resolution?
Shall I read the resolve?
That would be great. Since it's honoring, there isn't an instruction. Actually, because it's honoring him, you may want to actually read the whereas as well.
Whereas George Herbert Walker Bush was born on June 12, 1924 in Milton, Massachusetts, and whereas immediately after graduation from high school, George H.W. Bush enlisted in the United States Navy in 1942 and valiantly fought during World War II, the youngest naval aviator to that date, flying 58 combat missions and earning 3 air medals and the Distinguished Flying Cross. And And whereas George H.W. Bush was married to Barbara Pierce Bush for 73 years, and during their admirable union had 6 children, George Walker Bush, Pauline Robinson Robin Bush, John Ellis Jeb Bush, Neil Mallon Bush, Marvin Pierce Bush, and Dorothy Bush. And whereas after graduation from Yale University, George H.W. Bush moved to the great state of Texas and successfully worked in the oil business. And whereas George H.W. Bush was a Republican pioneer in Texas, as he became chairman of the Harris County Republican Party in 1963, ran for the United States Senate in 1964, and then was successfully elected to Congress from the 7th Congressional District of Texas in 1966, serving 2 terms. And whereas George H.W. Bush served as U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations from 1971 to 1973, as chairman of the Republican National Committee from 1973 to 1974, as envoy to China from 1974 to 1975, and as director of Central Intelligence from 1976 to 1977. And whereas George H.W. Bush was elected 43rd Vice President of the United States in 1980 and served with President Ronald Reagan for 2 terms. And whereas George H.W. Bush was elected 41st President of the United States in 1988 and oversaw the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the Soviet Union, as well as the defense of Kuwait in the Gulf War. And whereas President George H.W. Bush was the father of George Walker Bush, 46th Governor of Texas and 43rd President of the United States, of John Ellis Jeb Bush, the 43rd Governor of Florida, and the grandfather of George Prescott Bush, the current Commissioner of the Texas Land Office. And whereas President George H.W. Bush was a gentleman who loved his country, his family, and God, and who served a life of distinguished service, fully dedicated to all 3, a point of light who shone brightly for our world until his passing on November 30th, 2018. Now therefore be it resolved that the Republican Party of Texas honors the remarkable life of President George Herbert Walker Bush, and be it further resolved that we encourage all Texans to remember and celebrate the achievements of the late president and to dedicate ourselves to the volunteerism that he inspired and the love of country that he exemplified.
President Bush's incredible service. And I strongly encourage the entire listening audience, and I strongly encourage everyone listening and watching now who has not already, or even if you have, go visit the Presidential Library at Texas A&M. It is an incredible experience and a reminder of an incredible American century and life.
Mr. Chairman, Mike McCluskey, Senate District 5. I first want to say how much I appreciate Virgil. Virgil and I had a conversation about this at 12:30 this morning. There was no language before then. He worked through the night to create this incredible language. I think this is a real opportunity for us to reflect and have a coming together as a party and respect someone who gave so much service, not only to our country, but to Texas. He specifically served Texas, and I think we need to show that appreciation in a very big way from this body. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Edwards.
Mr. Chairman, J.T. Edwards, SD11. First of all, my extended thanks to Chairman Cruz, who is a tireless, editor, wordsmith, servant leader for this very beautiful resolution in the celebration of one of America's greatest leaders. And the fun part about it, members, Mr. Chairman, is that President Bush absolutely loved Texas and loved Americans from all walks of life, from all beliefs. And it's truly a sad day, but it's also a celebration to celebrate one of our own. And the president's done so much. I remember as an intelligence professional coming through, I was just starting my life out and having him as my chief executive. And what he's done for our military, what he's done for our allies, and what he's done for our state. So thank you, Chairman Cruz, and most importantly, thank you, Texas, for having such, for having such a great president. I'm truly saddened on this day. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Randy Dunning, SD 16. I would like to move that we do this by acclamation.
May God bless and comfort his family, and may we all celebrate his reunification with Barbara. Okay, we have the wording for an insertion in the resolution. Without objection, we're bringing back up the previously tabled resolution. Could you indicate the additional part, which is, I believe, the part after the words meetings and conventions in the third to last line? Yeah, I believe, is that correct, Ms. Mills? That the change is to add this wording?
Yes.
Okay, so you have before you a motion to change, a motion which was seconded to amend this wording. This is the motion in front of you from Ms. Wise. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Summer Wise, SD 24. So, as you have received, unfortunately, we've had a case where we have witnessed some discrimination in our party, and one of our members is being called.
It's the amendment that was tabled earlier, the amendment for I don't remember what headline is for the
Resolution in support of non-discrimination.
resolution in support of non-discrimination. It's that one we brought back up from tabling a discussion, and she's speaking in favor of this amendment. Yes, ma'am. And the amendment is the insertion of that inserted wording. Yes, ma'am.
Right. So I think we need to not let others speak for us. I think we need to speak for ourselves, and we need to make sure that we are supporting our party and supporting those who do advocate for religious freedom and the values that we have and that we all stand by. And this resolution is intended to do that. Say, we are a party that values religious liberty, and we have rules and principles to carry out this value within our party, and not let others set our narrative for us. So that is why I think we need to make a statement and reaffirm this, given the division that we've seen in our party related to this.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Warren Norwood, Senate 10. Certainly I'm in favor of this. I am a precinct chair in Senate 10, where we're dealing with this in Tarrant County. I have written exhaustively on this, and I'm one of Dr. Shafi's biggest supporters, as one might say. That doesn't mean I think he's perfect or anything else. It just means that I think that a person should be gauged, should be evaluated on his own behavior and not on some tribe from which he comes. And I use that tribal language with all of us. As a practicing Christian, I have no problem calling out other Christians when they don't behave the way that I think they should, according to Republican principles and Christian principles. The fact that it goes into a Muslim world or some other tribe and how they behave should be irrelevant. I did have a question of the committee. As I understand it, and of course some of the discussion here has been the idea that people who aren't of our tribe or are new to the system can join and be an Indian, but they can't be a chief. That's part of the problem here, is that Dr. Shafi has been elevated to a position of vice chair. And so, well, it's okay, we'll take their votes, we just don't want their leadership skills being used for us, which of course is absurd. It is fair to ask questions and harder questions of people as they rise in the ranks. They're going to be leadership position. But it shouldn't be, the assumption should not be, all Muslims believe that it's okay to lie. This person's a Muslim, therefore I can't trust anything he says. That's bigotry. And so that goes beyond a mere prejudice, it's bigotry. We should avoid that. One of the questions that's going to be asked down in Tarrant County is, well, you didn't say this thing about leadership. Did the committee have anybody speaking in favor of the idea that we shouldn't allow Muslims in leadership positions or anything like that? Where's our chair over there?
Would you like to address that question?
In the limited debate of the committee, I do not believe that the question came up.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that that's clear, because there are people who are going to look at this.
And to be crystal clear, I was in the room for the debate, and it was limited, but it was 45 minutes, and no, that idea, the idea that that would be okay was never raised.
Okay, so the question before the committee and the discussion is always a matter of how far SREC should go towards supporting a non-discrimination policy, and not one of which whether we should have some sort of a policy.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Holt.
Terry Holcomb, SD3, speaking in favor of this amendment.
I think this body is well aware of what we're trying to say here. But I want to make it clear for all those that might not understand, that are going to be listening, and that our chair is going to have to speak to when we're done with this. This body is going to stand against any form of religious persecution. As a pastor of Crossroads Baptist Church in Oakhurst, Texas, I am here to stand against any form of religious litmus test to serve in our party. It goes against every principle that we say we stand for. It goes against our planks. It goes against our legislative priority. We have a legislative priority of religious liberty. And the world is waiting for this body to speak. And I think y'all are going to do an admirable job this day and speak with one voice. God bless each of you, and God bless Tarrant County Executive Committee, and God bless you, Dr. Shackleton.
Mr. Chairman, J.T. Edwards, speaking in favor of this resolution, because this microphone work better. Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and again, to be clear, we're still speaking of the amendment.
My sincere apologies. 151 years this organization has existed. Right here, Republican Party of Texas. 20 white guys, 125 black guys, formed the Republican Party of Texas. It's in Buffalo Bayou. 150 years ago, my county, probably the oldest county executive committee, Republican Party Executive Committee, brought about a leader of color. And his influence permeates now. A state representative said, and he was asked, what about Black Lives Matter? You know what he said? Members, and I encourage you to vote. I hope you do. Is to send the message, not to our friends in Terry County, not to the 253 other counties, but it's a statement to our voters who sent us a verdict 3 weeks ago that we need to expand our tent, that we need to accept each and every one of us. Each and every one of us. And more importantly, to go back to the basics of what we are here for as Republicans. We shouldn't have to even come to this. I shouldn't even be sitting at this back mic talking. But that is what has happened. And that, my friends, is why I ask you, let's do 64-0. Let's get this done. Let's stand as one. Let's be as one. Let's show everybody this is the Republican Party of Texas. We're not a party of bigots. We're not discriminatory. We are not. We are not. If you've got the courage and conviction, vote. Vote yes. Do it now. Thank you, members.
Mr. Chairman, based on that, I call the question. And I move that we do it by
This is Ann
acclamation.
Gebhardt, SD9. I would like to just speak for just a second. I'm from Tarrant County. I'm part of the SREC, not just the SREC. Our SREC doesn't just cover Tarrant County. I'm actually a member of the executive committee in Tarrant County. And I just want to express my support of this resolution. I'm not going to talk any more than I think enough has been said on this, but I just want to express my support. Please vote yes.
Mr. Raines, if you'd repeat your motion now that I've recognized you.
I called the question. I move that we do it by acclamation.
Okay, well, you can't call the question. All in favor of calling the question, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. We have called the question. Now,
on the main resolution, I call the question and move that we approve it by acclamation.
okay. There's been an objection to acclamation, so not that. First of all, have we actually passed the amendment? No. So how about we now vote on the amendment, which the question for which has been called. So now, all in.
Can we do a point of information first?
Okay. Good. Quickly.
I've been talking with the sponsors of this amendment. This is a very technical thing. It's a friendly amendment. We do not actually, when we use the word principles in this part, we're referring to the identified page 1 principles. I would suggest that we either before we vote or afterward change the word principles to core.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a technical thing. Is the word values or value the better way to say that grammatically?
I believe values, plural, core values of religious liberty and the freedom. Okay. We are now on the resolution as amended. Seeing no further discussion on the resolution as amended, the recommendation for passage by acclamation was objected to. So this
I'll withdraw it.
Thank you. It will now be a record vote on the resolution as amended. Grab your clickers. We're going to start the vote.
It's open. It's open.
Voting is open. Aim your clickers at Ashley.
Looks like everyone's responded. He's the alternate. Okay, are we good?
Okay, and has everybody voted? If so, we're about to close voting. Okay, voting is now closed, that this was a unanimous result. But it's already on the record. Yeah, we had no censor. Yeah. Okay. So, go ahead and announce it. Right, no. I announced that you had an abstention, that makes, yeah. It's still unanimous. There were no votes in the opposition.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the report of the Resolutions Committee.
Thank you very much. I'll now ask for the report from the Proxy Committee.
You'll be glad to know that we have 6 proxies today. They have been all duly noted and the signatures have been checked. And I thank you. Ask for the Proxy Committee report to be accepted.
Without objection, the Proxy Committee report is accepted. Without objection, we'll now return to the Auxiliaries and Coalitions Committee report.
Alternate thing, I can't print on one screenshot. Okay. But you can still say, see this, yes. Well, because the other one I went ahead and did it this way, but I'll just do it.
You have to do it, yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, JT here with SC11. I move that portion of my speaking time, I'd like to cede that to Dr. Shack, if the members will allow.
The motion is that we can hear from Dr. Shack.
Yeah, just a motion to hear from Dr. Shack.
Okay, I move to hear from Dr. Shack.
Okay. Without objection, we'll hear from Dr. Shack.
I'm not sure if I'll be able to speak fully without breaking down. But I decided to stay on and continue in my responsibilities as Vice Chair of Tarrant County Republican Party because I believed that it's not about me. It's about what we stand for as a party and as a country. And there were moments of doubt in my own mind. But today you have removed all doubts as to what we are and what we believe in as conservatives and Republicans. And I will take that message back to Tarrant County and tell them that this is and remains and should always be the party of Lincoln and Reagan. And my message to all Americans, which is my first and foremost identity now, a message to all Americans is that irrespective of when we arrived on this precious soil, it is our sacred responsibility to make sure that we pass this torch of liberty on to the next generation stronger and brighter than was handed to us. We owe it to this country, we owe it to our children, we owe it to the rest of humanity. Because I can tell you as an immigrant who grew up under a brutal military dictatorship, America is the shining city on the hill. America is the beacon of hope for millions of people, millions and millions of people around the world who remain oppressed, who don't have the right to vote, who don't have a right to religious freedom, who don't have a right to freedom of expression. We have a sacred responsibility, and today we have upheld it, and all on behalf of myself, my family, my kids, I want to thank you all, and I'm hopeful for our country, and I'm hopeful for our party. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we're action. So I'll get to the floor action because I know we're on a compressed schedule today. Members, we've met, our committee has met several times, both telephonically as well as in person, with the business of bringing on new coalitions, exploring new coalitions, as well as reaffirming our current auxiliaries. And so with that being said, and always I have my good friend and a wonderful vice chairman, Mr. Terry Holcomb. He's the hardest working guy. The show business gives him around the floor. Thank you, Terry. He also keeps the train moving on time. So, members, we have a new coalition that the officials committee, of course, it was voted out favorably out of our committee, voted through the officials committee in between meetings. We have a new coalition with Gun Owners Association who will be working with us on Gun Owners of America. My apologies. Jerry, you got to keep me on time with this thing, right? We've established a quick, fast, and a hurry in the interest of time. Coalitions are partnerships in which we work on a particular issue in our platform. So in this case, with Gun Owners of America, Gun Owners of America, we'll be working with them on the issue of constitutional carry, as well as there's some training for in advance of the 86th legislature. So that was voted out. We're exploring another coalition presently at this time involving criminal justice reform. And our wonderful parliamentarian, as well as a couple of members, are working on it real hard. That's going to populate our working group, our auxiliary coalition working group being led by Terry Holcomb. And so lots of work taking place. With that, we've also voted out favorably, and we have affirmed the following coalitions that should be on your on the screen. And that would be the High School Republicans of Texas, Texas Asian Republican Assembly, National Federation of Pachyderms, the Texas chapter, our wonderful Texas Federation of College Republicans, but last but certainly not least, our good friends and wonderful partners at the Texas Young Republican Federation. I heard that. And so with that being said, Mr. Chairman, at the direction of the Auxiliaries and Coalition Committee, I move that we, with the 5 organizations that's on the screen for auxiliary status with ex officio status. Thank you.
Okay, so you have the motion for the report from the committee. It doesn't require a second. The motion is to reaffirm the auxiliary status of these organizations. Auxiliary status, according to our bylaws, comes with specific rights and privileges, including ability to... All in favor of the motion to add these auxiliaries, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it.
And, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. Barring any questions from the members.
Thank you very much. And next up would be a rules report from Chairman. Oh, right, sorry. Chairman Atwell. Without objection, we'll return to the Candidate Resource Committee report.
It comes to a close in March, and that will be our last meeting, and we get to use my favorite Latin phrase, sine die. And,
yes, he's a
ever since I was in college, I was intrigued, how can I use sine die? Had to be a committee chairman to use it. We're going to talk about our results. We'll have, where's Virgil? Okay, he's hiding over there.
He's overworked.
He is very much overworked. We had an emergency distribution last night. We have an SD race that's in a special election. It's SD 6. And Virgil, we're okay to announce what we do. All right. One thing is we've kind of held a lot of the amounts of money tight because we didn't want Democrats countering us at every turn. We awarded $2,500 for this race. All right, go to the next slide, please. I want my community to stand up. Most of them are not here, but these are the guys who pretty much stuck with us the whole year, that have raised a record amount of money and helped us succeed. 4 years ago, when I became the chairman, we started trying to develop new tools and ways of doing that. That took a lot of our energy and resources. Well, pretty much all we had before was the envelope, and so we've done a lot of different things with that, including a new logo that Sue Evenwell helped design, and it's just the second session we went ahead and this was a monumental thing in thanks to Virgil. We put the application process online. If any of you guys have been involved in CRC applications, it seems to have grown in paperwork over the years where you had to download, the county chairman had to download it. You had to request a copy from the chairman. He would send it to you. Then you'd fill it out. Then you'd send it back to the county chairman or scan it and send it in or mail it. And so this way, it's a one-stop process. You have to fill out a pre-application, and we check and make sure you're not a Democrat or somebody else trying to figure out what we're trying to do. And once we figure out that you are legitimate, then we send a passcode and you fill out the application in the process. It's still a work in progress, but it's a big, huge step. And I want to thank Virgil because he spent an awful lot of time on it. What we're going to ask you guys to do, we're going to send out a password to you. We would like you to fill out the application process. You can make up, say you're running for dog catcher or Disneyland band leader or whatever you want to call it. Just fill it out, and then we would like you to critique it. And that includes staff, anybody who would like to fill the system out. And you don't complain it's too long, but some of them are requirements that the party requires us to do on the platform and things like that. But yes, Dave.
What you had mentioned CRC with respect to local possibility of local races.
Yeah, we'll talk about who won and who didn't.
No, as far as funding, as far as being able to.
Oh, city and school boards?
Yeah.
We have not discussed that, and one of the problems we have is we don't, the primary is the vetting process that we have to go through. But if you have, say, 3 Republicans in an area like South Lake, Texas, running against each other, how do you get in the middle of that? What we do is we vet them according to the platform primarily and make sure they're actually running the race. If we, we're talking about some uncharted ground here, and I don't want to make a mistake, but we're going to have a lot more feedback on it. Next slide, please. Okay, Virgil, now you need to come talk. I apologize, I'm fighting bronchitis and I'm trying to keep my voice in.
So I'll go through this very briefly because it is included in the digital packet. The map you see on the screen is all the counties where we gave money, and you see all the way from top to bottom and east to west we gave money. So candidates in those counties are indicated with how many won and how many lost in WL format. And next slide, please. We also gave to several multi-county districts that are highlighted in red with the win-loss totals shown there. It's very small, I apologize. There are a lot of counties in Texas. Next page. And this is the hard work of everybody in this room. This is the hard work of asking small donors, large donors, everybody in between. We raised a record of $189,196.59 since January 1st of last year. Y'all deserve applause for that. And Steve out well chasing after people with envelopes. We also contributed, to our knowledge, we've never given anywhere near this amount of money, $176,500. Difficult election cycle, especially in some of our urban areas, and yet we did manage almost 50. Keep going.
It should be on the.
By office type, it should say at the top. It's in multiple districts. And I want you to see the next page because this is why we do what we do. I'll give you a second just to see the note of gratitude from the Grayson County Chair, thanking us for making a difference in her county, that the money that you guys raise does make a difference. This fund, we forget about our down ballot candidates sometimes in the big picture, but the CRC is looking at those, making sure that that money makes a difference. And finally, I'll let Steve take care of this one.
Okay, very good. I want to thank you guys for this is your committee. This is your efforts on getting this money. This group has worked really hard. From a convention, the first time we did a silent option to passing out the envelopes and making speeches to different field organizations and stuff. And we have, the one thing we did succeed at, we have lifted the profile of this group, which makes it easier to raise money. Because in the future, it should be easier and easier, hopefully, to raise money. The Democrats have figured out at the lower ballot in Dallas County, but we go where the fight is. We go to the sound of the guns, and we will always go to the sound of the guns. But like I said, I do appreciate your support on this. I appreciate the chairman's support of this committee, and we will thank you. And we will give a final report and keep in records of reconciliation at the next meeting, and then I get to say the magic words, "Signy day." Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I say something?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Chuck Branch, SDA. I just want to thank you guys for all your hard work. I know there were many last-minute requests, and appreciate y'all being able to fulfill all those. And thank you for Collin County. It really made a difference from all the way to JPs on even to the appeals boards. So thank you all.
Mr. Chairman, you know, I sat in on just one of the days of their meetings. The amount of work, the incredible seriousness with which they took the big responsibility that they are charged with was awe-inspiring to see. So I second the thanks for that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Before we conclude this report, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Jason Ross, SD2. Again, I would reaffirm all of the appreciation for all the hard work that went into this process and the cycle. Where can we find the results of the contributions that were collected at the convention by SD?
We will have that online. It won't be broken out by convention, but you can see by the dates. If you like, we will send that to you.
Is it available?
We have contributions by date by SD.
The Aristotle report, I'm not sure I can make available to the public at large who donate, but, Virgil, what do we all do on this?
You're welcome you're welcome separately to make a request for information and they'll provide what they can.
Mr. Chairman, one more thing. I've been on this committee 8 years, and our chairman was the first one to sit in, the chairman, the vice chairman had voting privileges on this committee. Chairman Dickey was sick, you can see he was sick. He came in and sat down for several hours.
Council school board races in your counties. Now, you need to make sure your counties are doing the same. You can get real results, you can get real practice, you can get real donations, you can get build real name recognition in those races. Be involved, recruit good candidates, work with your counties to recruit good candidates, support them, and there will be cases where there'll be multiple Republicans running in a given area for a given thing. My experience in Travis County, we just focused our efforts on the ones where there was only one Republican running, and there were plenty of options where that was the case, and it was more than enough to say grace over. So please, everywhere you can, get involved in those and encourage others to do the same right away. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, point of personal privilege, Marion Knowlton, SD 19. I want to personally thank the CRC committee for helping Atascosa County keep 2 county commissioners, Red, and district judge. Very important positions. We're very close to Bear County, and that blue wants to seep in down there, but they're helping us. And I had a personal victory in my husband, Stuart Knowlton, who the CRC contributed to his campaign, and he's now a county commissioner-elect. So thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Chairman of Nueces County, but also the auxiliary county chair association rep. And we had some gifts given to, or donations from the CRC given to several.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please.
Yeah, given to some folks who really did not have much chance. But the response, they felt so appreciated. And they're so appreciative of getting that. We have to do missionary work too. We have to not just give money to candidates that are going to win. That's why I'm not so disturbed by necessarily having some loss on this. We had a JP race, which is in that particular district, is uphill. But he got several $100s that he wouldn't have had otherwise. It allowed him to do push cards and bumper stickers, and got him started. So this.
Mr. Chairman, I would first like to recognize my Rules Committee and thank them all for the hard work they did in preparing for yesterday's meeting. And if I could have them all stand, please. Thank you. You did a great job yesterday. I'd also really like to thank our parliamentarian for all of his patience and his assistance yesterday. He really was a great help. Thank you, Chris. Mr. Chairman, you and the SREC tasked the Rules Committee to consider 75 proposed changes to our bylaws. With much discussion, we were able to slog through 66 of these proposed changes, leaving just 9 to discuss prior to our next meeting. The committee also requested of our parliamentarian, and he agreed, that he would prepare before the next quarterly meeting a glossary of terms that are going to be used with our bylaws to help assist the body and others who are not as well versed in parliamentary procedure in the interpretation and reading of our bylaws. Mr. Chairman, at the request of the Rules Committee, I'd like to move that the 66 amendments in the document before you on the screen be approved.
Okay, a motion before you to approve 66 amendments to the bylaws.
Jack Barcroft, SD 24.
Yes, Mr. Barcroft.
Mr. Chairman, there's one thing that we went back and forth on in the committee, and I want to present it to the body. It'll be under the section of recording votes. And, first we had, yays and nays. Then we changed it to yays and noes. Well, the noes won. So we became the party of noes. I say, let's give it a coin toss for the body and say, do you want nays or noes? I'm so moved.
Mr. Chairman. Okay, so there is a motion to separate out one of the 66. Is there a second to the motion to separate out one of the 66? There is a second. All in favor of separating out one of the 66, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. No. Okay. All right, I'm going to do division here real quick, because I couldn't really tell. This is, do you want to discuss off separately this one of the 66 items or not? All in favor of separating off one of the 66 items, please stand. Okay, and please be seated. If you are opposed to separating out one of the 66 changes, please stand. The ayes have it. Okay, so first we're going to vote on the 65. Seeing no discussion on the 65 changes, all in favor of the 65 amendments to the bylaws? Actually, as amendments to the bylaws, these have to be record votes. Yeah, as amendments to the bylaws, plus it requires 2/3. So requires 2/3 as amendments to the bylaws, plus it needs to be a record vote. So as Ashley is going to prepare the vote, we're going to be voting on 65 of the 66 proposed changes. Okay, real quick, how do we know what his number is? How do we know what
24 in.
Oh, yeah. When everybody look at the back of your clickers, your clicker should say the SD number and then M or F for male or female. So someone's got 24M and that someone is not the SD24 man. Look at the back of your clicker. On the back, you have a sticker that says 24M. Because if you do, you've got Jack Barcroft's. You've got Jack Barcroft's clicker. Okay. If we can't find the clicker, we'll take the vote without Jack, and then have Jack tell us manually. There we go. We got it. We got it. Okay. All good.
Oh, I listed them. I realized I clicked the slide and it
Ashley, are we ready for
I'm ready.
Okay. Voting is opening on accepting or not the 65 changes passed by the Rules Committee. It requires 2/3. All in favor, press 1. All opposed, press 2. Voting is open, and Ashley has the computer aiming at her. And I only see a couple of people whose votes are not being recorded, and so assuming they're good, voting is closing in 3, 2, 1. Voting is closed, and the result is the amendment's passed. My sincere thanks to the Rules Committee for working through all that, and to you all for that. Now we are on to the divided question, which if you guys could pull up the one amendment that we are now to debate. Yes, Mr. Marcroft, you sort of did already speak to it, but if you could do that while we pull it up.
I'm simply, Mr. Chairman, Jack Marcroft, SD 24, as it was kind of a, it was conjecture. It broke up the monotony of the day after slogging through 20 pages of bylaws. But it did go back and forth, and I felt like, hey, why not? This was something that took up enough time in our committee, might as well give it to the body, do the coin toss, so we can have it recorded the way the body feels. That's all. So I speak in favor of amending it to nays versus noes.
Parliamentary inquiry. Parliamentary inquiry.
Yes.
David Howard's listed as well. Mr. Chairman, could we have the parliamentarian speak to the reasoning behind using the word noes versus nays?
Actually, I'll be happy to speak to it. So this comes from Roberts, and it comes from recording votes, and it comes because if you are recording the votes for and against a motion and you write out the votes yay are X and the votes nay are Y, if you have bad handwriting, yay and nay could easily look pretty darn clear, just as we didn't check Roberts.
Just point of information first.
Yes.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Yes, this is a division off of the motion from the Rules Committee.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to speak in favor.
Excellent.
Carrie Holcomb, SD 3. I'm going to speak in favor of this, number one, just because I want to hug Jack. And it's fun, and we have our own rules.
We have separated off the recommendation from the Rules Committee. And now, we've now moved an amendment. So you were speaking, actually, we haven't done an amendment.
Because the amendment has the same thing.
Okay. So, the wording already in said nays and yeas. So, to ayes and nays. So, to get what Mr. Barcroft wants, all you do is vote no on the recommendation of the committee, which has been separated off. So to leave it as saying yay, you vote no. Right? So to leave it saying nay, you vote no. To change it to saying no, you vote yes. That is the motion on the floor right now.
Can you repeat that?
And voting yes to change it to no from nay would require a 2/3 vote and will be a record vote.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, something's telling me this is why Rules Committee went long yesterday. Yes.
I am a part of the Rules Committee, and yes, it was part of it, but it did lighten the place. I'm Gail Stanner, SD 15. I have a point of inquiry. When we do use the clickers,
yes,
it's always yes and no. It's
correct.
Not ayes and nays, or ayes and noes. Will that also be changed so that we are consistent?
Yeah. Actually, if someone later wished to bring up a point of order in our voting to change it, so instead of saying yes and no, it says ayes and nays, or ayes and noes.
So the clickers, and are they the computer program together with
the clicker doesn't say yes and no, the clicker says 1A or 2B.
The program.
But on the screen it says yes or no, I believe we do have the ability, that's
Yes, it says
programmed
yes or
in on
no.
the laptop, we have the ability to change that.
But you put the choices in.
Yeah.
I put the choices in?
David
Yeah,
Howard's listed 12.
Yes or no?
If it were Bob or Sue, you would get
Yeah, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, the clickers actually can handle multi-candidate voting, so they don't, the clickers
You can
just
label
know what
each
you're voting for.
number.
What we set that up. Mr. Howard.
I intend to vote nay on this motion. But I believe the point that you made earlier is the fact that it's, as it says in the text, that this is only for the recording of the minutes. It doesn't tell us
you know, how we have to, whether we have to say no or nay or.
Correct.
But it's going to be recorded in the minutes this way,
Correct.
is the only effect of this amendment.
Correct.
Thank
This
you.
is a bylaws or statement on how votes are recorded in the minutes. Yes, sir.
Randy Dunning, SB 16, and once again, I'm affirmed in my belief that you can never underestimate the capacity of the SREC to fight over the smallest thing. I'm on the Rules Committee. This seems to make sense to me. By the way, yes, we do occasionally do handwriting when for some reason we can't get the clickers to connect to the unit. Hopefully that's a decreasing activity. But I have watched as late as yesterday, someone sitting up with a piece of paper writing next to names. So it's not overcome by events by any way, shape, or form. I would recommend that we go with the recommendation of the committee. It gets us closer to Roberts, and there's no reason not to be close to Roberts here. Usually when you deviate from Robert's Rule of Order, it's because you have some House expedient or some